So you have been threatening to topple McCarthy, issue a motion to vacate the speakership if he worked with Democrats to fund the government with a clean CR, a clean government spending bill, which is exactly what he did on Friday and Saturday. The House gavels back in tomorrow at noon. Are you going to make a motion to vacate?
Speaker McCarthy made an agreement with House conservatives in January, and since then he has been in brazen, repeated material breach of that agreement. This agreement that he made with Democrats to really blow past a lot of the spending guardrails we'd set up is a last straw. And then overnight I learned that Kevin McCarthy had a secret deal with Democrats on Ukraine. So as he was baiting Republicans to vote for a continuing resolution without Ukraine money, saying that we were going to jam the Senate on Ukraine, he then turns around and makes a secret deal. Now, I know you and I probably have different views on U.S. involvement in Ukraine, but however you think about that question, it should be subject to open review, analysis, and not some backroom deal.
So I do motion to vacate tomorrow?
I do intend to file a motion to vacate against Speaker McCarthy this week. I think we need to rip off the Band-Aid. I think we need to move on with new leadership that can be trustworthy. Look, the one thing everybody has in common is that nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy. He lied to Biden. He lied to House conservatives. He had appropriators marking to a different number altogether. And the reason we were backed up against this shutdown politics is not a bug of the system. It's a feature. Kevin McCarthy's goal was to make multiple contradictory promises, to delay everything, back us up against shutdown politics, and at the end of the day, blow past the spending guardrails he'd agreed to.
So how many Republicans do you think will be with you in your motion to vacate? Because obviously, for people at home who don't know, you need 218 votes to get him out of the speakership. You don't have 218 Republican votes. You're going to need Democrats. Let's start with the Republicans. How many Republicans do you have?
Well, enough so that when you host this show next week, if Kevin McCarthy is still the Speaker of the House, he will be serving at the pleasure of the Democrats. He will be working for the Democrats. The only way Kevin McCarthy is Speaker of the House at the end of this coming week is if Democrats bail him out. Now, they probably will. I actually think that when you believe in nothing, as Kevin McCarthy does, everything's negotiable.
Okay, but
and I think he'll cut a deal with the Democrats.
Let's be honest here, though, because if you succeed in vacating him, you also will have to make a deal with the Democrats. You also will have to get Democratic votes to kick him out.
Absolutely. I will make no deal with Democrats and concede no terms to them. I actually think Democrats should vote against Speaker McCarthy for free. I don't think I should have to deal them anything.
You're not going to cut any deals with him?
Absolutely not. And I don't think that any Republicans that share my view on Speaker McCarthy would cut deals with Democrats. But here's the thing. I'm done owning Kevin McCarthy. Right? We made a deal at the end of in January to allow him to assume the speakership, and I'm not owning him anymore because he doesn't tell the truth. And so if Democrats want to own Kevin McCarthy by bailing him out, I can't stop him, but then he'll be their speaker, not mine.
So let's talk about what's just happened this last week, the government shutdown, because obviously, as you know, you've made a lot of enemies this last week. A lot of people, I'm talking about House Republicans. I'm not talking about Democrats or the media. I'm talking about House Republicans. They're pretty angry. Take a listen.
Unfortunately, a handful of people, and in particular a party of one, Matt Gaetz, have chosen to put his own agenda, his own personal agenda, above all else. He's not a conservative Republican. He's a charlatan.
They killed the most conservative position we could take, and then called themselves the real conservatives, which is like, make that make sense.
Now, the conservative Wall Street Journal editorial board wrote an editorial about what you're doing called A Government Shutdown for Dummies. And among the criticisms, they said, quote, the real goal of the malcontents seems to be to topple Mr. McCarthy for personal spite. It's also pointlessly stupid with failure foreordained. Their constituents wanted conservative policies, but the Gaetz Republicans are playing personal games. What do you say to these conservatives, these Republicans?
Well, I think what's really stupid is sitting atop a $33 trillion debt, facing $2.2 trillion annual deficits, while the world is de-dollarizing. Just in August, you saw the BRICS system that is moving away from the dollar add 6 new countries, including Gulf monarchies, including even some of the G20 economies in our own hemisphere.
People at home, that's BRIC is Brazil, Russia, India, China. Go ahead.
Yeah, and they are moving away from the dollar. You're seeing the African Union move away from the dollar. U.S. News just last month said that de-dollarization was the economic trend of our day. And so some people try to make policy disagreements personal. because their own policy failures are so personally embarrassing. But this isn't personal, Jake.
Yeah.
This is about spending. This is about the deal Kevin McCarthy made. If Kevin McCarthy didn't want to keep the deal to return to pre-COVID spending, if he didn't want to keep the deal to have single subject spending bills, not vote for government spending all up or down at once, then he shouldn't have made that deal. So this is about keeping Kevin McCarthy to his word. It's not about any personal animus or dispute.
Matt Gaetz, alongside a handful of other House Republicans, are absolutely furious that Kevin McCarthy caved in on the short-term funding bill, and he had this bill where Democrats voted alongside him. So Matt Gaetz and other Republicans aren't too happy with that, and because of this, they actually want to remove Kevin McCarthy as the House Speaker. Now, as I just mentioned there in that clip, there aren't going to be enough Republicans to vote against him to remove him from his House Speaker role, so they will need some Democrats also to vote in favor of that. Who knows how that vote is going to go down? Are Democrats going to vote to remove him and cause chaos? Or are they going to vote in favor of McCarthy? And if every single Democrat votes in favor of McCarthy, then in that case, McCarthy will definitely stay on as the House Speaker. However, if McCarthy is removed, this would be the first time that this would ever happen. Then they would have to vote for a new House Speaker. But in the meantime, McCarthy has written down 3 different people who would replace him. We don't know who is on that list, but there would be a temporary House Speaker before they held that new vote. But all in all, McCarthy really doesn't seem all that concerned. So here is his response to Matt Gaetz' threat to vacate him as the House Speaker. And also Jason Smith saying this whole process is pretty much a waste of time. Watch.
There is a lot to get to with you. I want to start, though, on the news this morning from Congressman Matt Gaetz, who says he's going to seek a motion to vacate. He's going to try to oust you as Speaker of the House.
Well, that's nothing new. He's tried to do that from the moment I ran for office. Look.
Well, this time he says he's going to keep going. May not get there before the 15th ballot, but it took 15 for Kevin McCarthy. He says he's coming for you. Can you survive?
Yes, I'll survive. You know, this is personal with Matt. Matt voted against the most conservative ability to protect our border, secure our border. He's more interested in securing TV interviews than doing something. He wanted to push us into a shutdown, even threatening his own district with all the military people there who would not be paid, only because he wants to take this motion. So be it, bring it on, let's get over with it, and let's start governing. If he's upset because he tried to push us in a shutdown, and I made sure government didn't shut down, then let's have that fight.
He claims he's going to do that this week. How does this play out, Congressman?
It's an absolute waste of time if he brings a motion to vacate. The only way a motion to vacate could be successful is if Matt Gaetz did exactly what he yells at Speaker McCarthy doing, and that's working with the Democrats. But in fact, he'd have to get more than 200 plus Democrats to join him to remove Kevin McCarthy, because more than 200 Republicans are 100% behind Speaker McCarthy. If, in fact, he does this motion to vacate, Maria, that will only slow walk the process of getting to every one of those individual funding bills that he proclaims that he wants to pass. Like I said, we've passed more than 70% of those individual bills when the Senate had yet to even pass one.
So again, who knows how this whole process will play out? I think we all knew at some point this would happen, where they would vote to remove him from House Speaker. And of course, this is going to create even more chaos. But here is Donald Trump's response when asked whether or not House Speaker Kevin McCarthy should be removed from his role. Watch.
Short-term funding bill?
We have to keep our government going, but I thought the Republicans got very little. I think they got very little. I think they could have done a much better deal. And it was a lifesaver for Biden. It was a lifesaver for the Democrats. I think the Republicans could have gotten more, but they'll have a second shot at it in a pretty short period of time. But really, to me, I think they could have made a much better deal.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Republicans could have been tougher, but they're going to have a second crack and a third crack at it.
Do you support Matt Gaetz' efforts to remove McCarthy as Speaker?
I don't know anything about those efforts, but I like both of them very much. Yeah.
Golf quickly, do you expect Mr. McCarthy to remain Speaker? Do you support him?
Well, I don't want to comment on it yet. I think it's too early. It just happened a little while ago. I've always had a great relationship with him. He said very nice things, I know, this morning about me and the job I've done, Kevin McCarthy, so I appreciate that. I would like to see the Republicans get tougher because we're dealing against the lunatic left. They don't know what they're doing. Whether they destroy farms or they destroy everything in their path, including the cities, the farms. They literally are destroying everything in their path, and we have to stop that. But I appreciate it. He said very great things about me today.